Alright, so we're back, of course, talking about a little bit of Final Fantasy XVI. So, the last couple of days, we've received just these small snippets of FF16 gameplay on Twitter, specifically from the Japanese Twitter account. What's kind of weird about it, though, just something I want to mention real quick, is that, like, the gameplay itself is in English, like, fully in English, from the voice acting to, like, the HUD and everything. But it's only on the Japanese Twitter account, and, like, the English Twitter account hasn't tweeted these out. I always find that kind of weird. Like, do they do a lot with, like, Final Fantasy and Square Enix and shit like that, where they kind of mix languages a lot? Because imagine, like, what about the Japanese fans that are seeing that gameplay that don't understand English? It's just kind of strange. Anyways, the pieces of gameplay that we've received so far are part 1 and part 2. They're specifically about Torgal, the dog, of course, that accompanies Clive in the game. So I'm sure people are excited to have that, to kind of see more about the dog. Because it's always fun to have a dog companion in games. It's kind of what I lean towards with, like, the Fallout games, for example. Always get the dog companion. But what we're here today is because I wanted to kind of discuss these gameplays, because there's some decent things to break down from them. But also, with the one we got for today, there's actually a bit of discourse with part of the gameplay that I kind of understand, but I wanted to also discuss as well. But before we hop into this, I do want to remind you guys that tomorrow is Future Game Show, which of course is being hosted by Cody Christian and Brianna White, the English voice actors for Cloud Strife and Eric Gainsborough. Look, we did a whole video about this. We already discussed this. We're not here to make a big deal about it, but there could potentially be something, right? Who knows? I just want to remind you guys. So this first bit of gameplay that we got is to show off giving orders to Torgal in the middle of combat, but also combination attacks that Clive and Torgal can do together. So this first command issued to Torgal is just a basic like lunge attack, and you can see in the bottom left that they're hitting up on the D-pad, so this would be the sick command. With the second command right here, you see them hit down on the D-pad, which is the ravage attack. He does kind of another lunge forward sort of attack, but also does a backflip, almost kind of like an uppercut, and launches the enemy into the air. Now, the combination attacks that we're about to see, I'm not 100% how you activate them, outside of maybe you hit left on the D-pad and then either up or down, because you do see the sick command and also the ravage command like activate during the combination section of this gameplay. So while the enemy is on the ground, we see Clive throw a fire at the enemy, and that seems to launch him up in the air. Then we hit the up sick combination attack, I guess. And Torgal jumps up and does like a spinning fire attack, which is actually pretty damn cool. Then we leap into the air and do a combo and then throw the enemy to the ground. We then follow this up with a down thrust to the enemy, and then we hit the down combination attack, which is Ravage, and we see Torgal just kind of lunge forward and almost slam them on the ground or something. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing there. And that's really it when it comes to that first gameplay video. These are really quick videos to put on Twitter. It's like 15 seconds long. There are some other things to talk about from this. For one, we got to see a couple of new enemies, right, that we haven't seen yet. Well, at least to me, they're new. Obviously, I don't just, like, super keep up with Final Fantasy 16, but the enemy we're fighting is called a Grey Claw, and in the background, we see this buffalo, bison, bull kind of enemy. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm assuming it's something we could walk up to and fight as well. Something else I took away from this is that, at least with the combination attacks we see with Torgal and Clive, they're like fire themed. We see, Torgal covered in fire, but also Clive has the Phoenix icon equipped. So it makes you wonder if you were to change icons in middle combat, would it also change the attacks that Torgal's doing in terms at least of like their element? Maybe not the actual attacks that he's doing, but we see that Clive has Garuda in the corner. So if you switch over to Garuda, would your combination attacks be like wind themed at that point? Something else I noticed too, that's like a small detail, but I'm not entirely sure what it means just in terms of like gameplay, but we see Clive throw the fire at the enemy, but if you pay attention to that bottom right corner, it actually switches from Fyra to fire after he uses it. I'm not sure why it would do that. I'm not sure if you have to like earn Fyra and Faraga as you play through a fight or something. I don't know. I don't know how the gameplay works exactly. Another main takeaway, at least for me, from this gameplay is that the area that we're in right here looks pretty damn big, my dudes. I don't know how big it is totally, obviously. We can't see behind Clive where he came from. We can't see to the left of Clive, but it looks significantly bigger than most of the locations in Remake, which is what we want, right? We want bigger than Remake. Remake, for all of its positives, is kind of a hallway simulator. Actually, one more thing really quickly. At one point during the gameplay, the camera kind of spins a little bit, and you can see in that top left corner that there's like a dirt path, it seems like you can maybe continue walking, so we might not just be in this area that looks decent size. Like maybe the area is a lot bigger than what we realize, and you can kind of continue upwards and go on to the next area or something. I don't know. So this next piece of gameplay is simply about Torgal helping you with exploration. I don't know how you issue him a command during exploration. The HUD doesn't show it. They don't specify or anything. But in this particular case, he runs forward. He finds like a crack in the wall that you squeeze through. I would assume if I'm basing it off like other games that have dogs that kind of help you when exploring, maybe Torgal could also like track down maybe enemies or treasure or something like that. That's just a guess. Maybe it's just for this type of shit. But hopefully there's more for Torgal when it comes to exploration. But did you catch the air quotes controversial part of that gameplay? It's actually the fact that we're squeezing through the walls. And I'm assuming people that complain about this shit don't understand why they're in games, because it's something that's very common in Remake, right? There's a lot of like squeezing through locations, or like crouching to go under some rubble, or you like hold triangle to open up a door. And people have been complaining about this since Remake came out in like 2020. And I think people that complain about this don't understand that these aren't just like random busy work in a game. They're actually like hidden loading screens. Instead of like the game fading to black, it says now loading in the corner, and then you load into the next area, or it goes to black and it shows a tip screen as you're loading in. It's like load screens hidden behind gameplay is the point, right? So it's something better than just a black screen. So anyways, apparently people were upset by this today, I guess. I didn't really see much of it, but I heard people talking about it. But like I said earlier in the video, I can sort of understand it, right? Because when it came to Remake's a fantastic game, right? The PS4 is capable of very great things, but it's also dated technology. It'll be 10 years old this year, right? So by technology standards, it's outdated. We're on the PS5 now, right? You know, Final Fantasy 16 is a PS5 exclusive game, and it's kind of weird that we're still doing these kinds of load screens. I mean, could they not have just made that crack in the wall a little bit bigger and made it all seamless, where we just go from one area to the next? Does it have to have like this little mini load screen? Yeah, I kind of understand that, right? It also does make me wonder, though, that since we're PS5 only, you know, way better technology, and the fact that we're still having to have these kind of load screens, maybe this game is pretty massive, dude. Ultimately, though, it's not a big deal, right? We're talking like a couple of seconds of your life. Maybe there's a bunch of them throughout the game, so technically they can add up and be a lot, but like it's still just like a couple of seconds. You can like turn away and check your phone real quick for notifications, right? You can check the time really fast. Grab a drink as you're going through these like cracks in the wall. It's literally not a big fucking deal. Calm down. Anyways, that's more or less the video, my dudes. I think you guys have commented a few times that we're supposed to have some sort of FF16 information coming out in the spring, and obviously we're coming up on the end of March here, so I gotta assume that's relatively soon, next couple weeks, month or so, right? Maybe that's part of what they're doing with this like gameplay they're dropping on Twitter, and when it comes to that as well, I'm not sure how many parts there's going to be. We obviously have part 1 and part 2 of this Torgal gameplay. I don't know if there's going to be a part 3 or like how many parts there's going to be in general, but there's something worth talking about in the next, you know, couple days, couple weeks, whatever. When Evolving 16, we'll definitely talk about it. Anyways, this video, my dudes, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @davidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like low gain or leave it like Cobain.